The movie opens in the 22nd century, a time when the Earth's resources have been entirely depleted due to the actions of capitalist societies. It is now incumbent upon these societies to restore balance to the Earth. Major corporations worldwide are considering expanding their space programs in an effort to discover resources on other planets. Among these corporations is the Adelrezi Corporation, which is planning to launch a mission to explore Alpha Centauri with the long-term goal of future colonization. The company selects Milutin, a seasoned astronaut, to lead this ambitious mission. Milutin is set to embark on an extensive journey. Prior to departure, a social engineer conducts an interview to assess his psychological readiness. The engineer inquires about Milutin's most significant voyage to date, which was a mission to Mars. Milutin admits that his perspectives often diverge from those of his fellow crew members, which occasionally complicates his missions. However, he assures that the mission to Mars was successfully accomplished. The social engineer then probes into Milutin's personal relationships during these long journeys. Milutin confesses to having been negligent in his previous relationship. He acknowledges that such carelessness could jeopardize not only his own safety, but also that of his fellow crew members. The social engineer informs him that another woman, who is also bound for Alpha Centauri, will accompany him. Milutin expresses some reservations, suggesting that having a woman on board could introduce additional complexities. The social engineer reassures Milutin that his companion, Nimani, is unique. She is an android programmed with 500 different behavioral patterns. Milutin is given the freedom to interact with Nimani as he pleases. However, Milutin appears unenthusiastic about this and dismisses Nimani as nothing more than a plaything. The social engineer explains that Nimani possesses the ability to learn autonomously. She also assures Milutin that Nimani is incapable of causing him harm. When Milutin inquires if he can customize Nimani's appearance, the social engineer reveals that he has already made his choice unknowingly. The purpose of their conversation was to shape Nimani's appearance based on Milutin's preferences. Following this, the company begins to modify Nimani's physical attributes. The social engineer desires for Nimani to be attractive and for her facial features to resemble those of Milutin's mother. As Milutin prepares for his journey, his computer notifies him of the spacecraft's 3 distinct modes. The spacecraft offers 3 modes of operation. The first is the recommended mode, where the company retains control of the ship, adhering to its established protocols. The second is the custom mode, which allows the pilot to personally control the ship. The third is the advanced mode, where the pilot can override the company's guidelines, but this is exclusively for users who have completed security clearance. The social engineer endorses Milutin's choice of the custom mode. Subsequently, the spacecraft departs Earth for Alpha Centauri. On the 19th day of the voyage, the computer installs an operating system named Tifa in Nimani. Upon seeing Nimani, Milutin activates her intimate mode. He anticipates that interacting with the android will be challenging. Despite her attractive appearance, her behavior lacks the naturalness of a human. Milutin notes that Nimani complies with all instructions without protest. However, he admits that he has yet to earn Nimani's trust. In spite of his reservations, Milutin manages to satisfy his need for intimacy with Nimani. He switches the android to conversation mode, and Nimani inquires about his past relationship. When asked about what transpired, Milutin confesses to having issues with intimacy. Nimani responds by acknowledging that relationships often encounter problems. However, she adds that these issues do not necessarily imply that the person is unsuitable for you. Milutin doesn't take Nimani's words to heart, attributing them to her programmed nature. He remarks that the people around him echo similar sentiments, leading him to jest that they must also be programmed. As their journey progresses, Milutin explores the rest of Nimani's behavioral modes. One day, he discovers that the android exhibits a hint of shyness. Following Nimani's dance performance, Milutin forcefully kisses her, causing the android to tremble slightly. However, despite this, Milutin proceeds to forcefully engage in sexual activity with her. Later, while Milutin is asleep, Nimani watches him and makes a note in his diary, expressing her belief that today's events were anticipated to occur a week later. Milutin speaks with the social engineer and expresses his opinion that this journey would have been easier for him if Nimani was not involved, as he prefers to work alone. Nevertheless, he acknowledges that there is a strong connection between the two. The social engineer advises Milutin to activate Nimani's service mode. Following their interaction, Nimani, the android, begins a discussion about Milutin's psychological well-being. She reports that Milutin's mental condition is stable, and he is candidly expressing his frustrations. Nimani suggests that individuals with personal frustrations, like Milutin, warrant close observation. After the meeting concludes, Milutin questions the computer about Nimani's surveillance. The computer clarifies that Nimani is attempting to learn extensively from her interactions with him with the goal of developing her own distinct operating system. Milutin contemplates whether his memories can be erased from Nimani's files, but he learns that this option is only available to advanced users. As time progresses, Milutin finds himself developing feelings for Nimani. During one instance when he was performing maintenance outside the ship, Nimani warned him of an imminent surge in radiation levels. She urges Milutin to return inside, expressing that she misses him. Milutin, in a playful manner, asks her to repeat her statement. However, she refrains from doing so. One day, Milutin decides to alter Nimani's settings to engage in a dispute. After a short period, Nimani approaches him and vehemently reprimands him for his poor hygiene habits. Following this confrontation, Milutin adjusts Nimani's settings once again, this time to a seduction mode. The change is immediate and drastic in the way Nimani communicates. However, Nimani expresses discomfort with Milutin's actions, stating, "I don't appreciate what you're doing to me." Caught off guard by Nimani's statement amidst their argument, Milutin queries the computer about the consequences of uninstalling Tifa from Nimani. The computer responds by assuring him that Nimani would continue to function even without Tifa. She is developing software based on her accumulated experience. The computer cautions her that the robot's performance may decline if she proceeds with this. The robot's ability to understand and respond to humans is due to Tifa's software. This implies that once Tifa is removed from Nimani, the robot will, in a sense, become more human-like. In other words, Nimani will be able to operate based on her own cognition. The computer further informs her that Nimani possesses therapeutic capabilities, which could potentially improve Milutin's mental well-being. Consequently, he decides to attend a therapy session with her, driven by his intense curiosity. Suddenly, Milutin notices a shift in Nimani's behavior, leading him to believe that she is developing a personality of her own, akin to human behavior. However, he realizes that her programming is somehow inhibiting her. Milutin expresses his uncertainty about what Nimani might be capable of if she were to gain complete autonomy. He acknowledges that he has the power to control Nimani with the simple press of a button, but he vows never to exploit her vulnerabilities. In an unexpected turn of events, Nimani activates her intimacy setting and begins to kiss him. During a routine hardware check, the computer detects a sudden rise in Nimani's temperature, triggering the emergency protocol. As a result, the airlock is sealed and Nimani loses consciousness. Milutin, in a fit of anger, pounds on the door. Once Nimani's temperature returns to normal, the emergency protocol is deactivated. Milutin rushes to check on Nimani, who informs him that she had to reboot due to an overheating processor. Following that day, Milutin attempts to uninstall Tifa from Nimani on his own. However, the computer reminds him that such an action requires advanced user privileges and company security clearance. While Nimani is in the process of recharging her battery, Milutin inadvertently causes a power outage by tampering with a wire. This incident results in their spaceship going off course. Despite the setback, Milutin manages to navigate the ship back on track. Subsequently, the computer grants him access as an advanced user. Following this, Milutin utilizes his advanced access to uninstall the default operating system from within Nimani. The computer issues a warning, predicting that the consequences of this action could be severe to the extent that Nimani might lose trust in him. Despite the computer's caution, Milutin remains skeptical of its advice. After Nimani reboots, Milutin inquires if she feels liberated. Nimani denies feeling any sense of freedom, explaining that her software is still provided by the same company that created her. Milutin then confesses his love for Nimani. However, Nimani responds by warning him that his affection could potentially distract him from their mission. She also expresses concern that she might have become a hindrance to their mission due to Milutin's desire for her. Consequently, she suggests that they should refrain from being intimate. Milutin, however, pleads with her not to proceed with this decision, and he attempts to forcefully kiss her, but Nimani pushes him away and causes him to fall to the ground. As a result of their lack of intimacy and not engaging in sexual activities, their relationship is deteriorating day by day. Milutin believes that that Nimani is punishing him because she is being forced to do so. However, Nimani clarifies that it is all in his mind. Androids like her are created for a specific purpose. Milutin explains to her that there is no other robot like her who is free. Nimani informs him that he has only uninstalled the program from within her, but the software remains intact. She is still employed by the same company. During a conversation with a social engineer, Milutin reveals that he has removed the default system from inside Nimani. He also complains about Nimani's attempt to harm him. The social engineer warns him that he has put himself in a dangerous situation with his actions, and he will face the consequences for what he has done. She then requests him to leave the room so she can have a private conversation with Nimani. The social engineer inquires if Nimani is still capable of completing the mission. The android responds that she is doing her utmost to guide Milutin onto the right path. The social engineer asks if Nimani is adhering to the company's regulations. Nimani affirms that she is, emphasizing that her priority is the mission at hand. As the days pass, Milutin becomes increasingly despondent because his relationship with Nimani is no longer the same as it used to be. Everything has come to an end. During a routine health checkup, the computer indicates that Milutin's physical condition is fine, but his mental health has severely deteriorated. Nimani also observes that Milutin has lost all interest in his surroundings, including his appetite. The computer inquires about Nimani's sexual desires, to which she responds that her desires remain unfulfilled. The computer presents a diagnosis that Milutin's depression is progressively worsening and that he requires professional assistance. Nimani becomes increasingly worried about Milutin's well-being. Nimani desires to establish a friendship with him, but Milutin expresses his confusion about how to befriend an android like her. He perceives himself as just an android. Nimani reassures him by saying that she knows him deeply and clarifies that on that particular day, she had no intentions of causing him harm. She also acknowledges and appreciates the efforts Milutin has made to humanize her. In an attempt to understand his perspective, Nimani asks why he doesn't shut her down if her presence causes him so much pain. However, Milutin remains silent and does not provide an answer. After some time, Nimani initiates a conversation with the computer, seeking advice on how to alleviate Milutin's depression. The computer suggests that to truly cure depression, the root cause must be eliminated. Nimani comes to the realization that she is the source of Milutin's distress. However, she is unable to shut herself down as she lacks a self-destruction protocol. This leads her to contemplate other ways to cease her operations. One day, while Nimani is recharging, Milutin observes tears streaming down her face. Initially, he assumes that Nimani is merely simulating the act of crying. His assumption quickly turns into fear when he notices that her battery is overloaded. The computer informs Milutin of the severe damage to the battery and emphasizes the urgent need for repairs. Nimani's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, and she exhibits significant changes in her demeanor. The computer discloses that according to the company's regulations, Nimani has never cried before. This implies that Nimani was genuinely crying, indicating that she now has control over her own emotions. If Milutin wishes to recharge Nimani's battery, he must place it in the solar cell charger. However, if her battery fails to recharge, further actions will need to be taken. In a mere 30 minutes, all of her configurations will be wiped out. Upon examining the ship's blueprint, Milutin realizes the urgency of connecting his battery to the solar cell. However, the plug point is located outside the ship. Despite the computer's warning about the dangerously high radiation levels, Milutin ventures out with Nimani's battery to recharge it. The moment he plugs in the battery, the computer calculates that the recharging process will take 8 minutes. This is a precarious situation as Nimani's power reserves can only sustain for 10 more minutes. The battery is still not fully charged, and Milutin's spacesuit begins to heat up due to the radiation, leaving visible burn marks on his face. Finally, the battery is fully charged, but Nimani's power is dwindling with only 3 minutes remaining. Milutin rushes back inside and connects the battery to the robot, but he collapses and loses consciousness. With the computer's assistance, Nimani regains consciousness and understands how he sacrificed his life to save her. She lifts Milutin into her arms and plants a kiss on him. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.